Hello, my beautiful people. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. And if you're new here, welcome. My name is Sheila Yona. I'm a researcher, author, and genealogist. Today, we're going to be talking about paper genocide. I know we talk about this on my channel a lot, but I feel it is imperative to continuously talk about paper genocide because a lot of people just cannot connect the dots when it comes to identity loss and identity theft. Now, people can make the correlation between, identity, labels and stuff like that. But a lot of people are unaware that if you were someone who was not white, not seen as white, your identity was not going to be of your own. It was going to be whatever title they attach to you in your identity. For example, in this video, we're going to be talking about how American Indians were classified as black, colored, Negro, etc. But a lot of people don't know that people that were coming overseas and being enslaved, they were being reclassified too. A lot of people are unaware about the Manila Galleon, how Asians were coming over in colonial Mexico and being reclassified as Indios. And that's how they was able to be granted their freedom. Now, a lot of people disagree with that, but you can't disagree with the facts. The facts are there. People can get mad at the truth, but it is what it is. But anywho, I do want to point out that during the Second World War, a small group of Virginia Indians had to challenge the prevailing system of racial classifications because a lot of people refused to accept the knowledge that people all over the world have their own identity. They come from nations, and those nations had their own identity. And just because pale people try to enforce racial systems, racial classification system onto people does not mean that we just have to accept it. Now, when they were called to register with the selective service system, of course they listed their race as Indian because that's who they are. Local draft boards did not accept them. They did not accept their identity. They recall that the antebellum days, some of their registrants' ancestors had married free Negroes. And of course, this is just them pulling it out they behind. And based on this alleged evidence, the boards insisted that the proper classification of these indigenous people was Negro. And of course, indigenous people were not having it, baby. They were not having it. Draft boards, they were equally determined to not classify the men as Indians because they didn't want them sent with the pale people. Okay, they did not want these indigenous people to be sent to the military with pale people. So, of course, they were going to reclassify them as Negro. And for 5 years, the indigenous people appealed this decision through the channels of the state and federal selective service bureau. So in the end, they wound up winning their case. But however, this is something that is a reoccurring narrative that we hear. It's a reoccurring thing that our people go through. And a lot of people are ignorant to the fact that just because someone's phenotype may portray a certain way does not mean that they come from that certain demographic. And what was really nasty work is that people was pushing Negro ancestry, right? Quote unquote Negro. Because mind you, Negro, it wasn't just for Africans. They were calling East Indian slaves Negro. Also, since we're talking about Virginia and how they reclassified indigenous people, let's talk about the acts that they passed in November 1682 to classify both Indians and Negroes together. In Act 1, it was an act to repeal a former law making Indians and others free. In the second act, it declared Indian women servants taxable. So see, when you look at history, when you research about history, you know the importance of genealogy research, and this is why you can't just go off on what the racial classifications say, because they can be wrong. Like the names can be wrong, like the date of births can be wrong, and like the death dates can be wrong, which is also why you can't go off on everything that you see when you look at them documents of your ancestors, because a lot of the information be wrong. Now, just because the information is wrong does not mean it may not belong to your ancestor. It just might. But then again, you have to look at the information and know what is correct and what's not, because a lot of them census takers, baby, they were illiterate as hell. Those people was illiterate, most likely hateful, spiteful, prejudiced. So of course they're not going to write down the correct information, because like I said, they're illiterate and they're hateful. Because why should they are a pale person during those times, and what they say went. So it is what it is. It's sad how people felt like they can play God over people's identity, but it is what it is. And that's why I'm here on my platform telling people about genealogy, the facts about genealogy, the truth about genealogy, because a lot of people are unaware. A lot of people are unaware about paper genocide concerning American Indians. They don't know. They don't know that we have been reclassified out of history. Which is why my channel exists, which is why I'm making this video, to spread awareness about paper genocide of American Indians. If you do not look like the mixed white native, if you don't look like the white natives, if you don't look like the pale Asians or the white Australians, people are not going to put the original people as the representation, because they're so brainwashed and so used to seeing pale people represent the original people. And it's not right, and that should change. But however, it just is what it is. But I just want to show y'all guys these two videos because they also talk about paper genocide, and I just thought, why not show it to y'all guys, because a lot of people are unaware about paper genocide, and they are unaware that paper genocide has been happening since these colonizers got off the boats. So I'm going to show y'all these two videos. I will not come back for further commentary. Thank y'all guys for watching, and until the next time, bye.
No, you're shoemakers now, and more importantly, you're a person of color. You're no longer a Nipmuc person, and that shows through in these county histories and also in the census records at the time. You find a person described in the 1860 census as an Indian. In the 1870 census, they're described as a person of color or a colored person. Same person, but the census taker, as part of the white dominant society, decides that this person is no longer Nipmuc.
There was kind of an ethnic cleansing with a pen going on. And it was, if you did not have white skin, you were considered black. And a lot of times, I mean, even today, you go into the town halls and you see where people have actually written over the records, where it was put in that they were Indian, and someone went in and wrote black over it. And you can actually see in censuses from time to time where they may have been Indian in the first 3 censuses, and then the last 6 of their life they're considered black. But you also notice something else on those censuses, that they were together here and they're still together here. It hasn't mattered what people have decided to do, you know, how they wanted to do what they wanted to do. We've stuck together.
Beneath the myth of disappearance that is in all of these published.
Indians who remained hid, or they lied about their race. If they could pass for Caucasian, or if they could pass for black, they took on another ethnic identity. But when they did that, they lost their culture. They had to hide and pretend. So now, today, people get really upset and say, well, you're not really Indian. Well, yes, they are. They had to lie about who they were. They lost, for lack of a better word, their public identity. They